Hey, how's it going? It's August 3rd, 2022. This is your Daily Sweet Talk. Um, remember Angry Birds? It's still around, I guess, in some form. It's this big brand now, but originally it was one of the first hit mobile games. And it's a neat little game. It had a neat little aesthetic, you know. Um, that's how you play it. You drag it, you slingshot the birds. It was kind of like Flash game tier. It was like a good Flash game. That was kind of how the early mobile games were, and now it's like bad Flash games. um, the first few Angry Birds games were good, and then they started to branch out, do some games that were not really. So I think the first one that was they made that wasn't really anything like an Angry Birds game was Bad Piggies, which makes sense. It's a spin-off about the enemies of Angry Birds, so sure, okay. And then they made like an Angry Birds RPG and an Angry Birds uh, uh, go kart game, an Angry Birds pop game. They did some stuff in the Skylanders boom, Toys to Life. You know, they Angry Birds got. I think for their kart game they had Toys to Life for that. So they hopped on that train as well. Um, Basically, it went from being this cute little mobile game, um, to a media empire sort of deal. Big franchise. They franchised the hell out of Angry Birds, um, which doesn't have to be terrible. I mean, some of those games that weren't anything like Angry Birds were pretty good. I guess I haven't played any of them, but they looked alright. They looked decent. What bothers me about what's happened with the Angry Birds brand is everything that's happened since the movie. So Angry Birds originally, and I'm not gonna pretend like I'm the biggest Angry Birds fan. I was more of a Plants vs Zombies guy, and that's I don't know if I've talked about Plants vs Zombies before, but that's a whole other can of worms. But that's specifically because EA bought it that all that stuff happened. Um, but whatever. I digress. But with Angry Birds had like these little cartoons on their YouTube channel and on maybe on the app. I don't know. I only played a little bit of the original Angry Birds game, which is not available anymore. Maybe I'll get into that if I have time. Um, but the shorts were pretty good, and they had like volumes of these shorts, Angry Birds tunes they called them. The Angry Birds had like their own story and sort of lore and whatever. It was like a neat little thing, you know. The birds go and defeat the pigs to get their eggs back. Um, they had some character somewhat, but it was not. It was like flushed out as much as like a Tom and Jerry sort of situation. And then they made the Angry Birds movie, and you could make a movie out of what they had already. They had this brand imagery, this like cartoony. They had like the material for a movie. It wasn't like if they tried to make a Doodle Jump movie. There's not really you have to like create something there because there's nothing there. Angry Birds, there was a base to go off of, but instead, they turned all the Angry Birds characters into like humanoid figures, which is really disturbing if you look at what the like if you look at what the original Angry Birds looked like. It's really disturbing to do that with them. Um, Gave a lot of gender to all the characters, which I mean they arguably had gender before. I saw them all as female because they were all going. They all. It seemed like they all laid eggs and then went to go get the eggs back. Um, I think the Angry Birds movie did a lot of. I thought like as a adaptation of the way the story goes, it adapted the way the story goes into like a good narrative for a movie. But in terms of how after that, this is what Angry Birds is now. Is these weird humanoid figures. They had a show on Netflix recently, which looks awful, which is also these based on these weird humanoid shaped figures. It's it's like the worst direction they could have taken this brand, which is already established and well liked, in my opinion.